we go. And then you want to come down onto your back with your knees bent and your feet flat. And what we'll begin with is our breath. So we're going to be working with rotation today, specifically thoracic rotation, thoracic mobility, and also and how this ties into our shoulders. So there will be some emphasis on breath, some emphasis on your shoulder blades. So what I'm going to ask you to do is you lie here on your back, is reach your arms to the ceiling. Whoop. Turn your palms so they point up and bring your fingertips towards each other. So it's kind of like this sort of pressing position, if you're not sure what I mean, a bit like this, but you're pushing your hands up towards the ceiling. Fantastic. So if you turn your fingers so they're pointing at each other, there we go. Really think here about pressing those elbows up. So as you press your elbows up, as you press your palms up, you're trying to create space between your shoulder blades. And then we'll be really deliberate with our breath. So as you breathe in, inviting a sense that you're breathing into this space in the back of your ribs. And as you breathe out, breathing out with some intensity. So your inhale and your exhale are as full as each other. With your exhale, almost like you're trying to hit the ceiling with your breath. And really trying to create space into the back of your ribs. Okay, from here, bring your palms together. Keep your knees and your pelvis glued to the floor as you begin to roll your upper body left and right. So a nice way to think of this is like your mat is covered in paint and you're trying to get that paint all over your upper back. And as you roll left to right, you can do this with your head up or your head down. And really try and counter the rotation of your pelvis. So both sides of your pelvis stay glued to the floor. And as you come back to the center, open your arms out wide, bring the backs of your hands down. With your next breath in, fill up the space between your two frontal hip points, then fill up into your waist, then fill up into the sides of your ribs. Once you're full of breath, hover both feet off the floor. And as you breathe out, let both of your knees go across in one direction, doesn't matter if it's left or right. Keep the opposite shoulder blade grounded. Come back through the center, breathing in. And as you breathe out, rotate the opposite way. So time this rotation with your breath. If you've got the space, and also if it feels available in your body, you might try straightening your legs towards the ceiling. So you're adding a slightly bigger lever to this movement. So looking to stabilize against the movement of the full length of your legs rather than just bent knees. If that feels like too much, keep your knees bent. So the next time you go off to the left side, or if you're facing away from me, the side pointing towards me, come onto that side of your body. So it's either your left, if your toes are towards me, or the side facing me, so you can see what I'm about to do. As you arrive here, line up your rib cage and your pelvis. So if you're anything like me, what tends to happen as I come onto my side is I sort of tuck into the fetal position. So it should really be just like you're on all fours, but you flipped it on its side. Keep your knees together. So a good sign here that you're in line will be that your knees are in line with each other. So if your top knee's back, shift it forward so your knees are perfectly in line. Keep your bottom arm reaching out unless you need it to support your head, in which case bring it underneath your heads. And then begin to reach this top arm over in line with your ear. And then keeping your knees together, open your top arm out behind you. Let your chest rotate towards the ceiling. So this is my right arm that's moving through space. As it comes out, so it's parallel with my left arm. So my arms are in a T shape. I'm going to pause here and breathe out fully. And then keep breathing normally as you take your arm all the way past your hip and then back out in front. So as your arm is moving through space, use your breath in different ways to perhaps find more movement in tight spots, more of a stretch where you feel like you need more attention, or perhaps even just a greater sense of ease. As you're moving your arm through space, you might also take a little bit of a shoulder carve. So you might also rotate your arm in your shoulder joint. Or you might just keep it moving through space and focus more on the rotation of your upper back. Now, as your arm sweeps around behind you, slowly pour yourself down onto your back. So let your shoulder come down first, then your pelvis. Arriving in semi-supine on your back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Just notice any difference in your shoulders. Notice how your breath feels. And then we use our deliberate breath, so breathing into our pelvis, waist, and ribs to create a kind of bracing sensation here. So if your next breath in, fill up the space between your two frontal hip points, into the sides of your waist, into the sides of your ribs. Once you're full of breath, lift your feet. Keeping your shoulders glued to the floor. Once more, explore rolling your knees left to right. And once more, it's your choice whether you do this with knees bent or legs straight towards the ceiling. So the next time, if you're following my directions, the next time you go to the right, come onto the right side of your body. Otherwise, the opposite side from the first side. So you're on that side of your body, supporting your head where it needs it to be, and lining up your pelvis and your rib cage. So what I mean is your pelvis hasn't shifted further forwards than your rib cage. Knees are stacked in line with each other. Bring them out in front of you. Reach your top arm out in front of you. And then again, find this sweeping motion. So you're using your shoulder here to guide the rotation of your rib cage. Feel free to pause anywhere that feels sticky, using your breath to create more awareness in this area. Feel free, as I said in the first time, on the first movement, to find your shoulder controlled rotation, if that feels like it's available in this movement. So you're spinning your arm in your shoulder joint as it also moves through space. Make sure as you're moving, the movement's coming from your upper body. So you're keeping your knees glued together and also glued to the floor. Top knee or bottom knee, sorry, glued to the floor. And this time, as you open out, Again, slowly roll your way down onto your back. So shoulder lands, then your pelvis comes down. Find semi-supine. And just pause here to feel your breath. Again, as you breathe in, expanding lower belly, waist, lower ribs, hover your feet. And as you breathe out now, use your hands to pull your knees as close to your chest as your hips can allow. Your next breath out, lift your head off the floor, pull your forehead to your knees. So you're curling into tight spinal flexion. Either with your hands underneath your knees here or holding onto your shins, that doesn't really matter too much. Open your elbows out wide left to right, so they're pointing left to right. Try and maintain this spinal flexion as you roll towards your right elbow, tap it down, and then roll towards your left. So the trick here is to use the muscles around your spine, the muscles of your core to hold you in this position so you don't lose this spinal flexion as you roll. And then using either this movement or a forwards roll to bring yourself up to seated, and then coming all the way around onto all fours. And as you organize yourself here in all fours, just take a moment, make sure your head's not hanging. Check in with the curves of your spine. Try and keep your neck and your chest still relative to each other as you push into your hands and separate your shoulder blades. So what you're not doing is rounding out your upper back. You're just trying to protract your shoulder blades by pushing into the floor. And as you pause here, just like when you are on your back, can you use your breath to create more space in your upper back? So as you breathe in, you're trying to open your ribs out in the back of your body. And as you breathe out, intentional breath out, like you're trying to blow a hole through your mats. So often a good exhale begets a good inhale. So if you can breathe out fully, gives you more space to breathe in. Keeping your hands pushing into the floor, keep your shoulder blades wide. Start from your pelvis, begin to tuck your tailbone down towards the floor. Then lift your waistband up towards the ceiling. Then lift the middle of your ribs, your lower ribs, your upper ribs. Lower your heads, tipping to look back at your knees. Try and keep your shoulders wide, keep your upper back wide as you begin to articulate into spinal extension, cow pose, or the opposite of what we're doing now. So tailbone lifts up. Try and keep your upper back round for as long as possible. Waistband pulls downwards. Then your lower ribs will pull towards the floor. Then your breastbone will pull forwards, but try and keep the same width through your shoulder blades. Try not to let your shoulders pull up towards your ears. And as you arrive in full spinal extension, make sure you're not just using your chin here. So focus on using your breastbone, pulling that forwards. One more time, articulating into spinal flexion, rounding towards the ceiling. And one more time, articulating into spinal extension, which is arching away from the ceiling. Listen, observe your shoulders as you're moving. As you come back to the middle ground there, step your left foot forwards. So you're in a lunge. So you want your left foot forward and both of your hands on the inside edge of your left foot. So the big toe edge of your left foot. And as you pause here, create this action of trying to pull your legs towards each other. So you're trying to pull your left foot back without it actually moving. So you feel those hamstrings, and you're trying to pull your right knee forwards, again, without it moving. See if you can hold this position in your body. Let me show you from the front. As you bring the palms of your hands together and point your fingertips down. With your next breath in, pull your right elbow up towards the ceiling. Open your chest out to the right. Keep the sense of pull through your legs. And with your next breath out, reach your right arm back down. Your next breath in, lift your left arm up. So your chest opens out to the left. Keep that sense of pull through your legs. As you breathe out, reach your left arm back down. So really important here that you're pulling your legs towards each other as you lift your torso and reach your arms out in front. So make sure your left knee here stays where it is. As you breathe in, pull your right elbow back. Open your arm out to the right. As you breathe out, right arm forwards. And then inhale, left elbow opens back, left arm out to the left. Fantastic. Reach your left arm forwards. Really important here, you've got that sense of pull through your legs now as you point your arms slightly diagonally. So this is for our diagonal stretch. For your next breath in, right arm reaches in the direction of your right heel. So not only are you twisting, you're also finding some spinal extension. Reach your right arm back up. Now as you reach your left arm back, still putting those legs towards each other, see if you can bring your left hands towards your right heel. It's your diagonal stretch. Come back up. Keep that sense of pull through your legs. And again, see if you can reach left hand, tap your right heel. Come back up. One more time. Reaching your left hand back towards your right heel. Come back up. Now bring your right hand down to the floor and reach your left arm forwards and down. Push the floor away with your hands as you step back either to a downwards facing dog or an extended child's pose, which would be the same shape with your knees down. So pausing where you feel the most comfortable. And as you pause here, can you use your breath to create space in the back, in the sides of your ribs? Now take your time, bring both knees back down. As you arrive on all fours, again, pushing the floor away with your hands, separate your shoulder blades. Articulating your way through cats and cows. Move just a little bit quicker, so it's a bit more fluid. So obviously you still get that same sense of articulation rather than simply folding and unfolding. But it's not quite as detailed, so not quite as slow. And as you come back to the central point there, step your right leg forwards. So again, as your right leg comes forwards, you want both of your hands hooked towards the big toe edge of your right foot. Torso stays forwards, find a sense of pull. So you're trying to pull your right heel back like you're skating it on your mat, and you're trying to pull your left knee forwards. Keep your right arm hooked to the inner edge of your right knee. With your next breath in, pull your left elbow up to the ceiling, open your chest out to the left. Reach your left arm back down. Same thing on the right side. So breathing in, right arm up to the ceiling, chest opens out to the right. And as you breathe out, right arm comes back down. Sorry, I've disappeared. I'm just turning my heater off. Keep the sense of pull through your legs as you lift your torso up, come up to an upright position. So you're really looking here to find the sense of pull, really lots of effort in this left glute and space in your left hip. As you breathe in, pull your left arm back, chest opens out to the left. Breathe out, left arm forwards. Your next breath in, right arm reaches back. As you breathe out, right arm forwards. Point your arms up diagonally. Keep the pull through your legs. So really important here, there's a sensation of hip extension in your left hip. As you breathe in, reach your left arm back towards your left heel. Don't worry if it doesn't touch. Left arm comes back up. Now right arm is going to reach back. See if you can tap your right heel. And then come back up. So you keep this rotation. Again, see if you can tap. Right hand to left heel, not right heel. And come back up. One more time. Right hand towards left heel. Come back up. Bring your left hand down to the floor. Right hand sweeps down to meet it. You have the choice here as you step your right leg back, either to come back to an extended child's pose or to lift your knees for downwards facing dog. Whichever position you're in, really active through your arms, elbows off the floor, reaching your fingers in the opposite direction from your hips. From this space, make your way back down to hands and knees. As you arrive on your hands and knees, just explore those shoulders for a minute. So pressing the floor away with your hands, reach your left arm forwards alongside your left ear. And as you reach forwards with your left arm, can you keep your breastbone and your belly button pointing down at the floor? Turn your left palm so it points out to the left. And then begin to sweep your arm round behind you, moving it in space so that eventually as your arm reaches your hip, palm is up. And then reverse the movement. So lift your arm to the ceiling. Once it won't go any higher, rotate, reach your arm forwards alongside your right ear, and then tap your finger towards the floor, little finger towards the floor. Try that big circle twice more. As you're moving your arm through space and you're rotating your arm in your shoulder joint, make sure there is no compensation happening anywhere else in your body. If this becomes too intense in your right wrist, feel free to come down onto your right forearm. Lovely. From here, bring your left hand back down. Press your left hand into the floor, and we'll try the same thing on the right side before we do anything else. So right arm reaches forwards. Again, in this shoulder flexion position, how high can you lift your thumb before you start to rotate? Sweep your right arm round and back, finishing the movement with your palm pointing up next to your hip. And then reverse. Your arm reaches out in front. Little finger taps down to the floor. Twice more here. Again, check in. If your shoulder is stiff and it's causing you to kind of bend your neck or to shift away from it, rather than doing that, give yourself more space with the movement. So it might be that your arm is further away from your body, and that's okay. So we're going to bring right arm back down. As your right hand arrives on the floor, press down into your right hand, pull your left elbow up towards the ceiling and open your chest out to the left. You have the option to stay like this or to straighten your left arm, which I always find really jarring in my shoulder, which is why I keep my elbow bent. And then thread your left arm underneath your right arm. Keep your left arm off the floor and reach as far to the right as you can manage. So you're going to breathe in this time as you open out to the left. See if you can keep your belly button pointing down. Breathe breathe out, reach your left arm underneath your right. Keep your left arm off the floor. One more time. Breathe in. Open out to the right, the left, sorry. Breathe out, reach underneath. As you reach underneath, bend your right elbow and come onto the outer edge of your left shoulder. Come onto the left side of your face. You can keep your right hand where it is as you sit your hips back like you're doing child's pose. You might lift your right arm up to the ceiling, or you might like to sweep your right fingers forwards. It's your choice where you go. Press down into your left fingernail so they are pushing into your mat. Notice your breath here as you pause in this very pretzel-y shape. To come out of this shape, push down with your right hand, lift your left arm. Press back to downwards facing dog. So just some time off your knees. Actively pressing the floor away. Feel free to pedal out through your feet here. And then coming back down onto hands and knees. Push the floor away with your left hand. Push the floor away with your left hand. Pull your right elbow up towards the ceiling. So what we're looking for here is for our breastbone to rotate out to the right, but for our belly button to stay pointing down at the floor, so your pelvis stays still. Reach your right arm underneath your left arm. So you're reaching as far to the left as you can go. Again, trying to keep your belly button pointing down. So breathe in, expand out, open out to the right. And breathe out, thread your right arm underneath your left. This time, as you reach to the left, bend your left elbow, come down onto the outer edge of your right arm. Come down onto the right side of your face. Your left hand can sort of open out to the left, but stay on the floor. It can reach up to the ceiling. That's not my favorite option. Or you can reach it forwards alongside your ear. Notice your breath. Press down into your right fingernail, so they're pressing into the floor. Then gradually press into your left hand. Come back up onto hands and knees. Press back to downwards facing dog. Make your way either hands to feet, feet to hands, to a forwards fold, before pressing the floor away to come all the way up to standing. As you arrive in standing, take your feet just a little bit wider and bend your knees. You're kind of in a combat stance. If someone were to try and come and push you over, you'd be really stable. Also using this position to keep your pelvis stable. So your pelvis does not move in any way. Your knees do not move. Reach your arms forwards. And again, mirroring the position that you were in when you're on your back, turn your palms out ahead of you, fingertips pointing at each other, and really try and separate your shoulder blades without rounding out your back. And just a couple of moments here to breathe. So breathing in, expanding into your ribs, and breathing out fully. Pull those ribs in. This time as you breathe in, as well as the back of your ribs, can you also fill up into the sides? There's obviously going to be the movement into the front, that goes without saying. So don't try and limit that, but it's more of a focus in the back and in the sides of your ribs. Okay, from here, bend your elbows and bring your hands to their opposite shoulder. Your elbows can be up or they can be resting on your chest. It doesn't matter. Start to just find some upper spine flexion. So you're rounding your upper back. Let me show you from the side. So as you round forwards, you're not letting yourself tip forwards. So just your upper back, almost like your bum is against a wall. Keep your bum against that imaginary wall as you come into spinal extension. Spinal extension is always a smaller movement than you think. So you're just leaning back slightly. Don't overuse your neck. So rounding into spinal flexion, just upper back, not all the way down, and then lifting up. And now taking this into some rotation. So these rotations need to be very strict. Controlled articular rotations of your thoracic spine, which is lower ribs up to the base of your neck. The leg stays still as we come into spinal flexion. So we're tipping forwards. And then we rotate round. So I'm going to mirror you now to confuse you. Rotate round to the left. So you're looking towards your left foot. Pause here. Check that your right leg hasn't dipped forwards. Stay to the left and tip back. So you're in spinal extension, but to the left. Stay back and rotate round through the middle over to the right. Again, check in with your legs. Have your knees or your pelvis moved. Tip down to the right. Tip forwards just from your upper back. So you're just rounding your upper back. And then go back round in that same direction. So to the left. Extend your spine. Round to the right. Flex your spine, so tipping to the right. Through the center, and then we'll go the opposite direction. So start to the right. Can you keep those circles really strict? So you're moving everything from your lower ribs up. Pelvis stays still. As you come back through the center, straighten out your legs. Bring your arms down either side of you. Make fists with your hands and firstly try elevating your shoulder blades, so pull them towards your ears, and then pull your shoulder blades down, so depressing your shoulder blades. So now moving your neck, keep those shoulder blades pulling down as you tuck your chin to your chest. Roll your chin round towards your left shoulder. Then tip your left ear back. So left ear tips back behind your left shoulder. Chin towards the ceiling. As you roll your chin round to the right, keep those shoulders pulling down. Turn to look to the right. Tip your right ear behind your right shoulder. Then chin to chest. Then back the opposite way. So we go round to the right first. Right ear tips back. Chin towards the ceiling. Keep your shoulder blades pulling down. Chin towards your left shoulder. Chin to your chest. Back to an upright position. Give your shoulders a roll. Reach your arms out in front of you, and then also try giving your shoulders a roll without bending your elbows. So you punch your hands forward, shoulder blades separate. Elevate shoulder blades to ears. Pull them together. Down. Apart. Up. Together. Down. Bring your arms down. Keep those legs stable. Coming back so there's space out in front of you. Slowly roll forwards. So even as you roll forwards here, you're articulating. So try and keep your pelvis upright for as long as possible. So all the stuff above your pelvis can move, has the chance to move before you tip your pelvis forwards. And then gradually walking your hands away from your feet. Bring yourself all the way down onto your belly. Reach your right arm out to the right. Keep your right arm on the floor. So right palm is down. And my left hand is in line with me, like I'm about to use my left hand to push. Push your pubic bone down into the floor. So you should feel a squeeze of your bum here, hip extension. Try lifting your left leg, and that lift comes from your hip. So it's like a seesaw action. As your hip stays heavy, your foot gets light. Using your hamstrings, bend your left knee, so you're pulling your left heel towards your bottom. Maintain this action of hip extension, but start to lift your left hip. So you roll over your right shoulder. So this is like your diagonal stretch that you did when you were lunging, pulling your left toes in the direction of your right hand. Your head, you might be looking to the left, you might be looking down, you might want to come onto or maybe up to the ceiling, or you might keep that pressing position. Roll back down onto your belly. Straighten out your left leg and switch hands. So this left arm is going to reach out to the left, right elbow bends. So pressing position for your right hand. Press your pelvis down first. So your pubic bone is heavier than the waistband end of your pelvis. Lift your right leg here. So you see how my right leg hardly lifted at all. It was more just my lower leg that came off the floor. That's because it's hip extension, not spinal extension. Keep hip extension, so keep your right leg light as you bend your knees. So you're using your hamstrings to pull your heel towards your bum, and then lifting your right leg. As you reach your right leg in the direction of your left fingers. Try not to come all the way onto the right side of your body and the left side of your body and place your right foot down. So keep your belly button and your breastbone pulling down towards the floor. With your right hand, you might reach it out to the right, up, or keep it in that pressing position. And then slowly roll back down onto your belly. Support your head for a moment with your hands. And let your legs roll left to right. Depending on how your quads and your hips feel here, either legs going in the same direction, or it can be quite nice to explore legs moving in opposite directions so they cross in the middle. And then from here, take your feet nice and wide. Turn your toes out. Just for a moment, see if you can sort of come into this quite externally rotated position. Open your hands a bit wider as well. So you can still obviously rest your forehead on the backs of your hands, but now your upper arms, your elbows form this more of a diamond shape. So the top of the diamond would be your hands, and then obviously the bottom of the diamond would be the base of your neck. Press your elbows down into the floor. The reason I've got my head lifted is so you can hear me. Try and keep your head resting. And as you press those elbows down, once more, can you use your breath to create space? So as you breathe in, you're expanding into the back of your ribs, into the sides of your ribs. And you breathe out, deliberately pulling all of that back inwards. So deliberately pulling your ribs together, condensing your upper back. Now release the pressure in your elbows. You have the option either to stay here on your belly or to come around onto your back. So just take the option that's best for you, just for a little bit more relaxation. either on your belly or on your back. It goes without saying in these times, make sure that you feel warm. It's not very relaxing when you're not warm. So if you need a blanket, if you need a duvet, grab those. And take a moment just to notice your breath. Notice the pathway of your breath. Where is the most expansive part of your inhale? And where is the smallest, the most relaxed part of your exhale? Where in your body does your breath move to? When you breathe in, does it always move to the same place? When you breathe out, do you always feel your breath moving out from the same place? Notice, can you begin to just gently slow your breath down and decrease the volume of your breath? So you now no longer need to do those big, expansive, deliberate breaths. You can keep it small and subtle. And just do a sweep of your body, checking in for any gripping around your eyes. Notice your jaw. A helpful tip, if your jaw continues to clench or feel tense, try resting your tongue at the roof of your mouth. Doesn't matter if your teeth are together or apart, but resting your tongue up. Notice if your shoulders are gripping, are holding any tension, that you can start to relax. Observe your hands. Again, can you let your fingers spread out? Can you let your belly soften? Our bodies relax and soften only when they feel supported. So if you're gripping anywhere, notice, do you need more support? Do you need to bring your knees together? Do you need to cross your ankles? Do you need to bend your knees? Your legs are currently straight. Take your time to bend your knees. And just let your legs roll left to right. You might even try gently rolling left to right along your forehead. And then slowly make your way to a seat. Take your time. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording for Amy and Catherine. Bye, Amy and Catherine.